Hello everyone, welcome to E-Taragathi, where education is digitalized. So today we shall begin our discussion on the daily Hindu newspaper analysis from August 22nd, 2020. And before we begin, I would like to thank everybody who's watching and supporting our videos. And we sincerely request on behalf of our E-Taragathi team that we are actually planning to launch live classes. ఏదైతే ఉన్నాయి Group 1 and Group 2 కోసం we are planning to launch live classes like some areas of AP economy, లేకపోతే AP budget, or ఇప్పుడు వచ్చిన AP industrial policy or AP tourism policy ఏదైతే వస్తుందో ఇప్పుడు అండ్ అదేవిధంగా గ్రూప్ టూ కావాల్సిన ఇంపార్టెంట్ బిట్స్ ఏపీ హిస్టరీలో కొన్ని ఏరియాస్ లైక్ మెనీ ఏరియాస్ ఇఫ్ యూ సీ ద డెవలప్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఆర్ట్ అండ్ కల్చర్ ఇన్ ఏపీ ఆర్ బుద్ధిజం అండ్ జైనిజం ఇన్ ఏపీ ఆర్ సమ్ అదర్ క్రూషియల్ ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ ఉన్నాయి దాని నుంచి మీకు రెగ్యులర్లీ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఇవ్వడం జరుగుతుంది బట్ దానికోసం ఒక ప్రాపర్ మెటీరియల్ అంటూ లేదు మనకి ఎస్పెషలీ ఇన్ ఏపీపీఎస్సి సో దానికోసం ఈ తరగతి వీఆర్ ప్లానింగ్ టు లాంచ్ లైవ్ క్లాసెస్ ఫర్ ద బెనిఫిట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ ఆస్పిరెంట్స్ అండ్ ఇక్కడుండే లింక్ ఏంటంటే యూట్యూబ్ ఓన్లీ అలౌస్ లైవ్ క్లాసెస్ ఇఫ్ దెర్ ఆర్ 1000+ సబ్స్క్రైబర్స్ సో వీ సిన్సియర్లీ ఆస్క్ ఫర్ యువర్ హెల్ప్ ఇన్ helping our channel, and please subscribe and ask your friends to subscribe because then we can start the live classes very soon. And this is even the live classes, they would be free in nature and it would be different from our uh, modules where we'll have a comprehensive covering of group 1 కావాల్సింది group 2 కావాల్సింది అవి కాకుండా because of the faculty they wanted to teach some specific areas APPSC కి ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో and expert faculty who teach many years in various institutes. So we are linking up with them. So we just wanted to start this live classes soon, and we are looking forward actively for your support. So without further ado, let us begin our discussion of today's newspaper. The first important news is basically a Supreme Court judgment which has said that the Supreme Court basically finds it strange that state governments ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో they're opening up activities with economic interests, but citing the COVID pandemic with regard to religious activities. So a three-judge bench headed by our CGI Sharade Bobde, they have allowed a plea by Shri Parvashital Tilak Shwetambar Murti Pujak Tapaj Jain Trust. వాళ్ళ జైన్ టెంపుల్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో at Dadar, Baikola and Chembur in Mumbai, they've been opening for prayers on August 22nd and 23rd. So it has been opened with the Supreme Court a nod. And the Supreme Court has also told if it is only 5 people, we do not mind going beyond Jain community and allowing the same for Hindu, Muslim and other communities also. But of course, the senior advocate A.M. Singhvi for Maharashtra, he has said that the number of pandemic cases are rising, and he said if Jain courts were allowed by the court, how could the state prevent other religions from congregating? Then the floodgates would open. But the court has said, this is the important ruling, like you can quote if there's a question on secularism or the COVID-19 and its impact the judicial decisions. Apudu, you should be able to quote, the court said that a blanket ban on religious congregations could not be instituted. So the Chief Justice, he has told that how the court has allowed the Jagannath Yatra in Odisha amidst strict restrictions. Alage, the court can allow specific Jain temples for access. But do note here that the court said that its permission would not act as precedent for allowing huge congregations during Ganesh Chaturthi. They would be on individual basis by the Maharashtra State Disaster Management Authority. So Maharashtra State Disaster Management Authority కింద వస్తుంది. So this is not a very important news, but I thought since it's the main headline today, you should be aware of it. Now it's an important news. మనకి ఇప్పటి నుంచి we'll start the APPSC discussion. Yesterday, 9 people were killed in the Srisailam powerhouse unit fire. So 9 people, including 5 engineers, చనిపోయారు. స్టేట్ రన్ హైడెల్ స్టేషన్ శ్రీశైలం ఏదైతే ఉందో, ఈవెన్ మన ఏపీ బైఫర్కేషన్ యాక్ట్ అప్పుడు శ్రీశైలం ప్రాజెక్ట్ గురించి అవుతాం, అక్కడ ఫైర్ అయ్యి దిస్ ఇస్ యాక్చువల్లీ ఇన్ తెలంగాణ బట్ it is on the state border across Krishna. So it's important for us, for APPSC also. And the fire, it broke out from a panel board in 150 megawatt unit around 10:30 p.m. on Thursday, and it gradually engulfed the entire area. So it is actually breaking news yesterday night aindi, and today I'm sure a lot of developments have come around it. And you can see here the Telangana Chief Minister, Honorable Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao, he has expressed shock and ordered an inquiry by CID about why the fire has taken place. Now, thick smoke causing zero visibility obstructed firefighting for several hours at night. So all this is the logistical support which is given for the fire. One important part here is AP officials are also helping the Telangana counterparts. So Energy Secretary N. Srikanth has directed officials of the Srisailam Right Bank Powerhouse and AP State Load Dispatch Center to extend all help to the Telangana Left Bank Hydel Station, where the major fire broke out. And according to the officials of Telangana State Load Dispatch Center called the Chief Engineer of APSLDC and informed about the accident. So there is Telangana AP cooperation also. You can remember this part. And we are discussing all this because we directly have disaster management under GS5 APPSC law. So recently for many days we had discussed the floods pen we have been expecting question on disaster management APPSC law because recently Godavari floods ఏవైతే అయ్యాయో and Krishna దగ్గర కూడా ఏదైతే ఎఫెక్ట్ అయిందో or the cyclone activity, those are obviously important industry disasters and disaster management పైన definitely question expect చేయొచ్చు, but there can be a more tougher question with regarding to the industrial disasters, because industrial disasters kuda they are the part of the disaster management, and we should be aware of the disaster of managing the disasters like industrial disasters. So here E-Taragathilu, this is our concept of giving you a visual representation of the paper and linking it with the background knowledge. Okay, because we hope that you shouldn't be wasting time. ఇప్పుడు శ్రీశైలం డిజాస్టర్ అయింది కాబట్టి we hope you won't be wasting time and searching online for industrial disasters or ఎప్పుడైంది or దానికి గవర్నమెంట్ స్టెప్స్ ఏంటి, ఇండస్ట్రీ ఏం స్టెప్స్ తీసుకోవాలి, అవన్నీ మీకు టైం వేస్ట్ కాకుండా అన్నీ ఒకటే ప్రెజెంటేషన్లో ఇక్కడ ఇవ్వడం జరుగుతుంది. సో let us see the disaster management related to industrial disasters. Now, industrial disaster and the introduction to the answer should be focusing on what exactly is industrial disaster. Now, they are caused by chemical, mechanical, civil, electrical, or other processes. So, all these parts are the industrial disasters, and they may occur due to accident, negligence, incompetence in an industrial plant, which may spill over to areas outside the plant or within. So they obviously cause damage to life, property and environment. ఇది మీరు అన్ని డిజాస్టర్స్లో రాయొచ్చు. And ikkada, in this specific case of Srisailam power plant, fires can start due to human activities or from natural causes. And the most common fires are the residential and non-residential structural fires caused by human activities. So most industrial and chemical fires, this is basically triggered by human activity, and they are sometimes caused by human errors, faulty designs, or mechanical failures. So all of these are part of industrial disasters. So industrial disaster, you shouldn't be stuck only with the big industries, but even the power plant fire which we have seen, or the chemical, mechanical, civil, even the other processes, ivanni manaki industrial disasters kinda vastayi. And they may be caused by accident, negligence, incompetence. This would be a good introduction. So, and here you can quote as we have seen in the recent Srisailam power plant fire tragedy, and mir quote change definitely. That can be done. So, next part you should focus on what is the role of industry in this disaster management. Now, firstly, there should be identification of the hazardous activities. So there should be good knowledge about the safety aspects of industrial operations which would enable prevention and mitigation. So the onus is on industries themselves, and they should have the safety audit properly done. And actually, in a Srisailam plant fire law, they have been saying that the officials are actually baffled. అసలు ఎలా అయింది ఫైర్ అని అర్థం కావట్లేదు, ఎందుకంటే there is Japanese investment and Japanese level safety audits which have been conducted. So soon, I think today we'll get to know the actual reasons, and tomorrow we shall add it to our current affairs. Tomorrow, or actually in Monday, we'll add it to our current affairs. But that is the uh, role which has to be played by the industry. Similarly, there should be appropriate hazard identification tools like checklists, analysis, safety audit, hazard operation, hazard operating procedures. అంటే దిస్ లైక్ ఎస్ఓపి ఏవైతే ఉంటాయో స్టాండర్డ్ ఆపరేటింగ్ ప్రొసీజర్స్ హజాప్ అని ఉంటాయి, హజార్డ్ ఆపరేటింగ్ ప్రొసీజర్స్. అలాగే ఎఫ్టీఏ, ఈటీఏ, ఆల్ ఆఫ్ దీస్ వుడ్ హెల్ప్ ఇన్ మిటిగేటింగ్ ద హజార్డ్స్. మిటిగేటింగ్ అంటే ఏంటి? అసలు డిజాస్టర్ అవ్వకుండా దే కెన్ బి హెల్ప్డ్. ఇప్పుడు శ్రీశైలం పవర్ ప్లాంట్ ఫైర్ అయినప్పటి నుంచి ద ఫోకస్ హెస్ బిన్ మోర్ ఆన్ ద అడాప్టివ్, ద రికవరీ ఫేజ్ కదా. అసలు ఈ ఫైరే అవ్వకుండా ఉండడానికి దట్ ఈస్ ద మిటిగేటింగ్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఇట్. సో ఫర్ దట్ దీస్ థింగ్స్, the checklist analysis, safety audit, HAZOP, FTA, ATA should be done, and you should definitely write such keywords in your answer. Like in the last, we have a sample mains question, we shall deal with it. And similarly, the industry should take care of maintenance of plant facility and equipment. Like there should be proper maintenance of equipment at regular intervals, and there should be regular site safety and health inspection. Alage there should be installation of vapor or gas detection systems. Similarly, there should be compliance with the rules and development of the human resource management and emergency preparedness. So ఇవన్నీ points these is prepared by a content team like industrial disaster focus చేస్తూ, and you can take a screenshot or make notes of these because they are very important steps which can be taken. And generally disaster management ante the discussion stops at cyclones or floods or earthquakes, tsunamis, ఇవి main way. But industrial disasters అనేవి కూడా they come under disaster management, and you should have a good answer because this is an ongoing development and it is just 3 months before the mains examination. So I feel this is very important for the mains examination, APPSC group 1 ఏదైతే ఉందో. Similarly, అది ఇండస్ట్రీ చేయాల్సిన పనులు. అండ్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఏం చేయగలదు? ద గవర్నమెంట్ షుడ్ సెటప్ ఎన్ యాక్సిడెంట్ ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ బోర్డ్ ఆర్ అ కెమికల్ యాక్సిడెంట్ డేటాబేస్. కెమికల్ యాక్సిడెంట్స్ మోస్ట్లీ అవుతాయి కాబట్టి, లైక్ వైజాగ్ గ్యాస్ లీక్, స్టైరీన్ గ్యాస్ లీక్ ఏదైతే అయిందో అలాంటి కెమికల్ ఇన్సిడెంట్స్తో పాటు యాక్సిడెంట్ ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ బోర్డ్స్ పెట్టాలి. సో దోస్ accident investigation board should be set up in India to investigate the chemical disasters also and bring out guidelines based on the lessons learned in the incident. So వైజాగ్ గ్యాస్ లీక్ ఏదైతే అయిందో దాని నుంచి అసలు ఏం లెసన్స్ నేర్చుకున్నారు? అన్ని రోజులు ఇండస్ట్రీ ఓపెన్ ఉన్నాక, క్లోజ్డ్ ఉన్నాక సడన్లీ ఓపెన్ చేస్తే ఎలాంటి స్టైరీన్ గ్యాస్ లీక్ అవ్వచ్చు? ఆ లెసన్స్ అన్ని దే షుడ్ బి ఇన్కార్పొరేటెడ్ బై ద యాక్సిడెంట్ ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ బోర్డ్స్ గైడ్లైన్స్. సో దీన్నే మనం డిజాస్టర్ మేనేజ్మెంట్లో బిల్డ్ బ్యాక్ బెటర్ అంటాం, BBB. You can use such keywords. So it is basically learning from that, or BPR కూడా అనొచ్చు, బిజినెస్ ప్రాసెస్ రీఇంజనీరింగ్. ఆఫ్ కోర్స్ ఇండస్ట్రీ అనేది బిజినెస్ కాదు, బట్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ టర్మ్స్లో దీస్ ఆర్ ద కాన్సెప్ట్స్: బిల్డ్ బ్యాక్ బెటర్ అండ్ బిజినెస్ ప్రాసెస్ రీఇంజనీరింగ్. Similarly, there should be a comprehensive fire safety audit which should address the inherent fire hazards associated with the activities in an occupancy and recommend the measures to reduce potential fire hazards. So these are the steps which should be taken by the government. So I hope you got a good understanding of the issue and the answer which has to be written. You should focus on the intro of industrial disasters, then the role of the industry, ఎలా అయితే hazard operating procedures or ETFT ఎలా చేయాలి, అలాగే మెయింటెనెన్స్ ఆఫ్ ప్లాంట్ ఫెసిలిటీ, అలాగే గవర్నమెంట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో ఇట్ షుడ్ సెటప్ అన్ యాక్సిడెంట్ ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ బోర్డ్ అండ్ దిస్ షుడ్ బి అ కాంప్రహెన్సివ్ ఫైర్ సేఫ్టీ గైడ్ లైన్స్. Let us move on to the next article, which is a national level news, but it's very important for prelims and even mains lo, because we have the Representation of People's Act. Representation of People's Act 1950, 1951, both. Directly main syllabus చూస్తే directly they have been mentioned. So this is directly related to the RPA, the steps which have been taken. So it's very important for the mains examination. And of course, prelims lo most frequently there have been questions been asked on the election procedure. సో ఇప్పుడు మీకు కొంతమంది తెలిసినట్టు ఎలా అయితే బీహార్ అసెంబ్లీ పోల్స్ జరగబోతున్నాయి. And the Election Commission, it has approved guidelines for conducting the polls during the COVID-19 pandemic. So it has allowed public meeting, roadshows subject to social distancing. And these are the general ones. Here the most important point is it has issued guidelines for online submission of nomination forms, affidavits and security amount ఏవైతే actually returning officer కి file చేయాలో అది they have been permitted online here. This is a very big change. Similarly, mask, gloves ఉండాలి voters కి, and the door-to-door campaigning only 5 మంది ఉండగలరు, including the candidate. You can see some of the parts have been given in the page 8 of the paper. Like they should be existing 100-meter rule కాకుండా, like road shows should have convoys of 5 vehicles each. Excluding security vehicles, they should be separated by interval of half hour each. So half an hour each, they should be separated, the vehicles, uh, instead of the 100-meter rule. So they're very strict rules. And alage, here an important point is when you're voting, masks are mandatory, sanitizers untai, and fever ki check chestaru when the elector, if he has fever, and if their temperature is still high, they would be given a token number, and last hour of the polling day ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో అప్పుడు వాళ్ళు చేస్తారు. ఎలక్టర్స్ సఫరింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ COVID-19 or high fever ఉన్న వాళ్ళందరిది లాస్ట్ అవర్లో the voting would be done. And the C has also told that the states and union territories concerned would make comprehensive plans for state, district and assembly constituency level. So this is the news. The most important part here is the online submission of nomination forms. And actually కోవిడ్ లేకపోతే నామినేషన్ ఫామ్స్ ఎలా ఉంటాయి, దానికి రివిజన్గా మీకు ఇప్పుడు ద ఎలక్షన్ కమిషన్ జనరలీ ఇట్ అనౌన్సెస్ షెడ్యూల్ ఆఫ్ ఎలక్షన్స్. మీకు తెలిసినట్టు షెడ్యూల్ ఎలక్షన్ కమిషన్ ఒక మేజర్ ప్రెస్ కాన్ఫరెన్స్లో పెడతారు. అండ్ ఆ ప్రెస్ కాన్ఫరెన్స్ నుంచి యాక్చువల్లీ ద మోడల్ కోడ్ ఆఫ్ కండక్ట్ కమ్స్ ఇమీడియట్లీ ఇన్ టు ఎఫెక్ట్. మోడల్ కోడ్ ఆఫ్ కండక్ట్ లేటర్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ అనౌన్స్ చేసినప్పుడు నోటిఫికేషన్ అప్పుడు అవ్వదు. ఎలక్షన్ కమిషన్ ఎప్పుడైతే షెడ్యూల్ ఇస్తుందో అప్పుడే మోడల్ కోడ్ ఆఫ్ కండక్ట్ కమ్స్ ఇన్ టు ఫోర్స్. సిమిలర్లీ ద ఫార్మల్ ప్రాసెస్ ఏదైతే ఉందో అది నోటిఫికేషన్ ఇస్తారు టు ఎలెక్ట్ ద మెంబర్స్ ఆఫ్ హౌస్, అండ్ యాజ్ సూన్ as the notification are issued, candidates can start filing their nomination constituency from which they contest. And here the important point is they are scrutinized by the returning officer of constituency. After the last date ఏదైతే ఉందో అది అయిపోయాక it is scrutined for almost a week. And validly nominated candidates ఎవరైతే ఉన్నారో they can withdraw from the contest within 2 days from the date of scrutiny. Similarly, the contesting candidates, they get at least 2 weeks for political campaigning. So these are the actual process. Here I would like to stress, these are generally asked in the preliminary examinations. Model code of conduct ఏదైతే ఉందో it comes from the date of schedule of elections firstly. Similarly, the notification తర్వాత ఇస్తుంది. A notification is scrutinized by the returning officer after the last date for 1 week. And similarly, the candidates, they get 2 weeks of political campaign before the actual date of poll. These are the process. And ఇప్పుడు COVID-19 pandemic వల్ల there have been some changes, like online చేస్తున్నారు, రిటర్నింగ్ ఆఫీసర్ స్క్రూటినీ బదులు, అండ్ అలాగే క్యాంపెయినింగ్ 5 పీపుల్కి రెస్ట్రిక్ట్ అయ్యాయి, and such changes which you have seen in the previous article. So that is the whole article and its background which is covered here. The next part is a small news related to APPSC which we had discussed in the last few days. Either flood level, it has been rising. It has touched 55 feet at Bhadrachala. So officials of Central Water Commission, they have issued a third warning. Already first warning, second warning అయింది, and second warning అది తగ్గించారు కూడా సిడబ్ల్యూసి, బట్ ఇప్పుడు 55 feet అయింది కాబట్టి ఒక థర్డ్ వార్నింగ్ ఇచ్చారు. So the flood level might rise as heavy rains were forecast, and the officials, they caution the people staying near the banks to move to safer places. And these areas are important. The flood levels at Kunavaram, Koida, Koffer Dam, Polavaram, Old Railway Bridge, Havelock Bridge, Rajavahendravaram, అలాగే ఎస్ఎస్సి మన సర్ ఆర్థర్ కాటన్ బ్యారేజ్, ధవళేశ్వరం బ్యారేజ్ అయితే ఉందో ఇక్కడ ఇంక్రీజ్ అవుతుంది. సో ఈ ఏరియాస్ హ్యావ్ టు బి remembered by you, right? These areas are important. And the rest is the general news, like personnels of revenue, police, NDRF, SDRF వీళ్ళని కూడా మొబిలైజ్ చేస్తున్నారు, and more than 60,000 people were shifted. So you can add this to the disaster management of floods, which we have discussed on 18th August ఏదైతే మనం డిస్కస్ చేసామో అక్కడ మీరు యాడ్ చేయొచ్చు. So the next, let us move on to the editorials. We had finished the headlines and the APPSC related news. Today, the APPSC related news is comparatively less. So let us start with the editorials. The first editorial basically focuses on differential impact of COVID-19 and the lockdown. So there are authors who teach at the Ashoka University, Delhi, and another is from the University of Heidelberg. So they have analyzed అసలు COVID-19 pandemicలో ఇండియన్ సొసైటీ పైన ఎలాంటి ఎఫెక్ట్ పడింది. So it's important for the sociology optional people definitely, and also మనకి GS1 UPSCలో we have Indian society. So there I think this would be important. Basically I feel this year exam many questions would be directly or indirectly linked to COVID. అసలు COVID దాని ఎఫెక్ట్ జాగ్రఫీ పైన ఎలా, ఏరియాస్ పైన, ఆర్ ఇండియన్ సొసైటీ పైన ఎలా పడింది, ఆర్ the historical background of flus can be asked. Similarly, the political aspect and international relations లో ఎలా అయింది, ఆర్ ఎకానమీ పైన ఇంపాక్ట్ ఏం పడింది, ఇంటర్నల్ సెక్యూరిటీ పైన COVID-19 ఎలాంటి ప్రభావం చూపించింది, డిజాస్టర్ అయితే డెఫినెట్లీ ఉంది. So similarly, all areas of GS Penna, there can be impact of COVID. There has been impact of COVID, and there can be questions which can be asked. So in that way, this article focuses on the impact of COVID on the society. So they give an introduction that in a certain book, The Great Leveler by Walter Scheidel, he argues that throughout human history, there have been 4 types of catastrophic effects, which have led to great economic inequality, which are the pandemic, war, revolution, and state collapse. So this is a very good introduction for an essay. If there's an essay on COVID related, any essay on it, definitely you can quote this book. And currently the world is going through one of them, which is the COVID-19 pandemic. And in the analysis, the author also gives that there is a decline in inequality is a result of excess mortality that raises the price of labor. So here the book basically says ఈ catastrophic events నుంచి యాక్చువల్లీ ఈక్వాలిటీ వస్తుంది, ఇన్ఈక్వాలిటీ రాదు. ఎందుకంటే ప్రైస్ ఆఫ్ లేబర్ పెరిగి ఎక్సెస్ మార్టాలిటీ వల్ల ఓకే. So while the validity of Scheidel's argument for current pandemic can be assessed after it is over, the pandemic has been described as a leveler more loosely because disease can strike anyone కదా. ధనవంతుడికి అమితాబ్ బచ్చన్ కూడా అవ్వచ్చు, అలాగే రూరల్ ఏరియాస్లో కూడా COVID-19 అవ్వచ్చు. And also because of the resultant lockdowns, there's a widespread loss. Now focusing on the looser description of pandemic as a leveler, preliminary data and early indirect evidence from several parts of the world indicate that the incidence of disease is not class neutral, because the poorer and economically vulnerable populations are more likely to contract it. Kada, definitely we have been seeing world over economic class and social identity, race, ethnicity, caste overlap, ఇవన్నిటి వల్ల socially marginalized groups are at a higher risk. Now, ఇండియాలో మీరు చూస్తే ఇండియాలో డేటా, of course, the disaggregated data on COVID-19 incidence and mortality is not there in public. So we cannot comment whether certain caste groups are more vulnerable. But మీరు లాక్డౌన్ ఎప్పుడైతే చూస్తారో లాక్డౌన్ imposed in the last week of March 2020, the first month witnessed a sharp rise in unemployment. And this sudden unemployment తో the has this been caste neutral అని అడుగుతున్నారు. So they have been examining the shifts from the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy వాళ్ళవి కన్స్యూమర్ ఇన్ పిరమిడ్స్ హౌస్ హోల్డ్ సర్వే డేటాబేస్ అని ఉంటుంది. ఆ డేటాబేస్ నుంచి they're saying, but by the waves, if you see the employed upper caste proportion, it has dropped from 39 to 32%. And if you see the scheduled caste proportion, it has dropped from 44 to 24%. OBC's key it has fallen 42 to 24, and ST's key it has fallen 40 to 26. And similarly, అన్ని వాళ్ళకి ఎలా ఫాలో అయ్యాయో the article is focusing. So one definitely in the deep we don't have to know, but the conclusion is the fall in employment is far greater in magnitude for SCs and STs than upper caste. That is the gist of the article. Similarly, if you see education, the global evidence suggests that there are job losses more concentrated on individuals with low levels of education. And those with vulnerable jobs ఎవరైతే ఉన్నారో వాళ్ళు obviously they're more uh, vulnerable to unemployment. And even the article, they find that individuals with more secure jobs who are not daily wages with more than 12 years of education were much less likely to be unemployed than those with 12 years of education. If you see here, data from another Indian Human Development Survey, అక్కడ చూసినట్లయితే 51% of SC households have adult women with 0 years of education and 27% have illiterate adult member. In contrast, upper caste households lo matram the corresponding proportion is 11 and 24%. So you can expect ఇప్పుడు pandemic లో school closures అవ్వడం వల్ల parents of SC children would be much less equipped to assist their children with any form of home learning because parental literacy low ఉంది. And similarly, if you see the issue of technology, there is a continued disparity between the caste groups, which affects the Dalit and Adivasi families to access online education. For example, proportion of internet in upper caste వాళ్ళకి 20% ఉంటే ఎస్సీ హౌస్హోల్డ్స్లో 10% ఉంది. And only 49% SCs have bank saving compared to 62% households. So there is a lot of differential impact. That is the headline basically. There is a differential impact of COVID-19 on the various castes of India. సో ఇంత డీప్గా మీరు నంబర్స్ గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు, బట్ యూ షుడ్ జస్ట్ ఫోకస్ దట్ దెర్ హెస్ బిన్ జాబ్ లాస్, education loss, and technology wala there has been problems. And this has also had differential impact, like it has affected the more richer elite classes than the vulnerable sections and you can give. And of course, if your option is sociology, you should remember the numbers and give a more deeper answer in sociology optional. So the conclusion says that the early impacts of pandemic-induced lockdown indicates that there has been exasperating pre-existing structures of disadvantage based on social identity. And investment in education and health ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో, which close the gaps between social groups, they would be resilience in face of the future shocks. So India should work on the investment in education and health. That is the takeaway from this article. Between the social and we should close the gaps between the social groups. So I felt it's a very thoroughly researched article. So many research నుంచి చెప్తున్నారు and the impact కూడా properly ఇచ్చారు, but how much you can use from the article is left to your discretion. And the next article is the other side of the story, basically what has been done by the government to fight the pandemic. This is actually written by Mr. Jayant Sinha. He is the chairman of the Standing Committee on Finance. So the government source, government official account of the chairman of the Standing Committee of Finance Committee, it becomes very important. Now, the article says a moment comes, but rarely in history, when a nation seizes control of its destiny. And in new Atmanirbhar eralo, people of nation have moved forward with confidence. So even as the world is reeling from the impact of pandemic, India is recovering with fresh energy and making bold plans for the future. So the pandemic, it has spread a few months ago and it has plunged the global economy into the deepening economic contraction since Great Depression of 1930s ఏదైతే యుఎస్లో అయిందో ఆ లెవెల్లో this has been taking place and trillions of dollars of economic output have been wiped out and most countries will take years to return to the pre-coronavirus levels. That is the global scenario, but India has avoided this fate because the government of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has undertaken a series of decisive, calibrated actions. The most important is the Atmanirbhar policy package. So this is the and similarly on March 24th there was a historic nationwide lockdown. ఈ lockdown వల్ల the disease exponential growth has been definitely dampened because without the lockdown the cases would be several times higher than now and even the fatalities would be higher. And the author says that the lockdown was definitely essential because during the lockdown, the nation got ready to face the pandemic. So అది ఏదైతే ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ కావాల్సిందో అది మనం పెట్టగలిగాం ఆ లాక్డౌన్ వల్ల. And every citizen we have learned the value of mass, social distancing and hand washing. అలాగే ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ ఏదైతే అంటున్నానో హాస్పిటల్ బెడ్స్, ఇంటెన్సివ్ కేర్ యూనిట్స్, వెంటిలేటర్స్, ఆక్సిజన్ సిలిండర్స్, N95 masks, ఇవన్నీ vast quantities లో we have been able to produce. And testing labs are now available in 80 to 90% of all districts. And extraordinary medical advances have happened in the past few months. Like several drugs, we have seen the Fabiflu or Remdesivir drugs have been given efficacious protocols. And many vaccine candidates are in the final stages, right? Like the Russian Sputnik 5 vaccine, which we have been seeing, that is also got ready. And soon after the lockdown was announced, the Prime Minister announced the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. Garib Kalyan Yojana to evendi around 80 crore fellow citizens are being provided rations through PDS by the Garib Kalyan Yojana. And this have saved them money and put cash in their pockets. Over 20 crore Jandan women account holders have received 30,000 crore directly into their accounts. Similarly, National Social Assistance Program to kuda many people have got benefited. And if you see the rural economy, it supports 60% of India's population and accounts for 46% of the GDP. And excellent Rabi harvest wala, there has been 75,000 crore in farmer payments by government. And similarly, 10 crore farmers have received 40,000 crore through PM Kisan Samman Nidhi. The PM Kisan Yojana edaitundo, దాని నుంచి farmers have been benefited. And over 4 crore households have benefited from the expanded Manrega scheme. And all of these are actually linked to the Atmanirbhar package only. Atmanirbhar package is actually a package of packages. చాలా ఇచ్చారు దాంట్లోనే గరీబ్ కళ్యాణ్ యోజన or the Manrega scheme, NSAP, ఇవన్నీ they have been followed from the Atmanirbhar package. And state governments, they also run their own relief programs. So there are massive cash payments with consumer goods, motorcycle, and so on. This is done by the government. And if you see the RBI, the MSMEs and large corporates, they have provided substantial relief to RBI and the government. Like borrowings received a loan moratorium of 6 months, and the RBI has cut rates by 115 BPs and pumped in more than 9 lakh crore into the financial system. Similarly, the NABARD, the SIDBI, all of them have been provided with the refinancing facilities. So banking system lo kuda chala has been done, and this much would be sufficient if you should mention about the banking sector. And other key reforms, the government introduced the Atmanirbhar package which we have seen. And crisis is a terrible thing to waste అనేది ఒక adage. అంటే ఒక క్రైసిస్ వస్తే దాన్ని మనం వేస్ట్ చేసుకోకూడదు. దాని నుంచి we should grow to the policy reforms. అలాగే the policy reforms have been done in agriculture, defense production, electronics manufacturing, coal mining and so on. For example, if you see agricultural sector, దే హ్యావ్ అంటే ద ఇండస్ట్రియల్ పాలసీ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్ 1991లో అయినప్పుడు, as we have seen under the Manmohan Singh when he was the finance minister, the PV Narasimha Rao government, they had not chosen for agriculture transformation. So through a series of Ippudu, under the Pradhan Mantri, under the Narendra Modi government, there have been series of ordinances, price controls have largely removed in agriculture, and farmers can now sell their crops to anywhere. అంటే బేసికలీ మన అగ్రికల్చర్ మార్కెట్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో వాటిని లూజ్ చేశారు. లైక్ వీ హవ్ సీన్ ద గ్రామ్స్ హ్యావ్ బిన్ గివెన్ బై ద బడ్జెట్, అంటే ద గ్రామీణ అగ్రికల్చరల్ మార్కెట్స్ అండ్ అగ్రికల్చరల్ మార్కెటింగ్లో చాలా రిఫార్మ్స్ చేశారు. అండ్ కిసాన్ క్రెడిట్ కార్డ్స్ ఆర్ బీయింగ్ ప్రొవైడెడ్ టు ఈవెన్ ఫిషర్మెన్, dairy farmers and other agriculturalists. And alage 1 lakh crore have been earmarked to build rural infrastructure. Animal husbandry has been sanctioned under 15,000 crores. Similarly, defense production has been indigenized with 101 items only for domestic production. So defense lo ee factors chesaru. And there are several production linked incentives to electronics manufacturing. Edaithe mana lakhs of crores smartphone production of India for domestic use and exports దాని చేస్తున్నారు. So all of these, actually COVID-19 impact of economy అందరికీ తెలిసింది, which we have discussed in several articles. But government ఏం steps చేస్తుంది, and this since it's by the standing committee of finance chairman కాబట్టి this is the official government information, and this is very important. I feel this is a very important article. If there's a proper essay on COVID-19 response, you can directly reproduce this article. You can use even, such introductions. A moment comes in history when nation seizes control of destiny, or the adage that crisis is a terrible thing to waste. Such important things can be incorporated. So opinion surveys show that PM Modi is the most popular elected leader of the world, and tracking polls have also increased, and there is some political aspect here. And many countries are stumbling through pandemic. Meanwhile, India has seized control of its destiny and marching resolutely towards the post-pandemic future. So this is the government's mouthpiece sort of article, and we also get to know that the government is not backing down by the COVID-19 pandemic. It is bravely taking upon the issue. So those are the editorials. ఇప్పుడు for prelims examination, here are some news articles. Now some studies have been conducted, and దీని నుంచి తేలింది ఏంటంటే డెంగీ టెస్ట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో డెంగీ టెస్ట్ can be mistaken for COVID-19. So there have been two researchers here, and they show that the test specific for check for dengue sometimes may lead to a positive SARS-CoV test. And దీనివల్ల misdiagnosis and public health rescue response ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో it can be skewed. For example, here the important part is the study by CSIR IICB. It used dengue antibody positive serum samples before until 2017 way and produced false positive results for SARS-CoV-2. అంటే 2017లో అయిన డెంగీ టెస్ట్ శాంపిల్స్ ఇప్పుడు వాళ్ళు కోవిడ్ చేస్తే పాజిటివ్ వచ్చాయి. Of course, the study is yet to be peer reviewed, but there appears to be that in place of recurrent epidemics of dengue, there is risk that dengue may be identified as COVID-19. And 22% testing positive is a significant number, as the inherent error of test itself is 4%. Test error 4% ఉంది, దానిలో 22% testing positive వస్తుంది. So we need to study if dengue virus is able to stimulate the body's immune system to produce more antibodies which could bind to the coronavirus. So ongoing research is being done. But if there is, a question that ఇప్పుడు సెరాలజీ టెస్ట్తో అంటే బ్లడ్ బేస్డ్ టెస్ట్తో యాంటీబాడీస్ ఏదైతే చూస్తున్నారో డెంగీ టెస్ట్తో దాంతో COVID-19 టెస్ట్ చేసే పాసిబిలిటీ కూడా ఉంది. So it can give such false positive, and you can write in the GS5 answers, or there can be preliminary questions asked around this aspect. So the next article is again prelim specific. Two articles which are prelim specific. There is the Thumbi Mahotsava. Thumbi Mahotsava ఏంటిది? ఇది కేరళది డ్రాగన్ ఫ్లై ఫెస్టివల్. అండ్ పంటలు అనేది అఫీషియల్ మాస్కట్ మనకి అనవసరం, కానీ దే కెన్ బి క్వశ్చన్ ఇన్ ప్రిలిమ్స్ దట్ తుంబి మహోత్సవం ఇస్ రిలేటెడ్ టు వాట్. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ ద డ్రాగన్ ఫ్లై ఫెస్టివల్, and the WWF India Kerala unit has joined hands with the SOS, the Society for Ordinate Studies, and Tumbipuram is the first ever state dragonfly festival. So a dragonfly backyard watch has been announced to enhance participation of people, and it would be a citizen skill project in view of the COVID-19 restrictions. అలాగే సోషల్ మీడియా క్యాంపెయిన్ చేస్తున్నారు, and so on. Here, just you should remember that Tumbi Mahotsavam అనేది dragonfly festival. Another news related to prelims examination would be there's another church which is the Kariye Museum. It is a former church, దాన్ని మ్యూజియం చేశారు, దాన్ని ఇప్పుడు మాస్క్గా మారుస్తున్నారు టర్కీలో. This is important because recently, a month before, the Kariye, the UNESCO World Heritage Site Hagia Sophia, ఏదైతే ఒక మ్యూజియం ఉండిందో, దట్ వాస్ ఎర్లియర్ చర్చ్, ఇట్ వాస్ మేడ్ ఇన్ టు మ్యూజియం, దాన్ని మాస్క్గా మార్చారు టర్కీ గవర్నమెంట్. సిమిలర్లీ ఇంకొక ఏన్షియంట్ ఆర్థోడాక్స్ చర్చ్ ఏదైతే ఉందో, విచ్ బికేమ్ పాపులర్ ఇస్తాన్బుల్ మ్యూజియం, ద కరియా మ్యూజియంని కూడా మాస్క్గా మారుస్తున్నారు. సో ద గ్రీస్ హెస్ బిన్ అబ్జెక్టింగ్ ఇట్, బికాస్ ద గ్రీస్, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, దే సేయింగ్ దట్ ద ఆర్థోడాక్స్ గ్రీస్ మినిస్టర్, it is a provocation against religious persons everywhere by the Turkish government. And this museum actually is similar to the Hagia Sophia Museum, and it is on the historic West Bank territory of Golden Horn Estuary and European state of Istanbul. So the whole museum and dani politics manaki anavasaram, kani we should just know about this Kariye Museum is located where in Turkey. Similarly, Hagia Sophia obviously is located in Turkey, and it's a more important and more covered well. Kariye Museum, I feel, at least at this point, it's a small news, but it belongs to Turkey and you should be knowing. So the last article for today is the economy section. There is some disconnect between the stock market and the real economy. అంటే COVID-19 పాండమిక్ వల్ల రియల్ ఎకానమీలో ఎంత ప్రొడక్షన్ అవుతుంది, ఇండస్ట్రియల్ సెక్టర్లో ఆర్ ఐటీ సెక్టర్లో ఎంత ప్రొడక్షన్ అవుతుంది, అది స్టాక్ మార్కెట్ పైన ప్రాపర్లీ రిఫ్లెక్ట్ అవ్వట్లేదు. So the RBI governor he has told that there would be a correction for this. And the governor has said that excess liquidity in the global system appears to be fueling the stock market exuberance. And there is so much liquidity in the system, in the global economy, so stock market is very buoyant and it is disconnected with the real economy. And a liquidity situation valle a stock market properly rise చూపిస్తుంది, but రియల్ ఎకానమీ చూస్తే అంత రైజ్ లేదు అని the RBI governor Shaktikanta Das has been opining. And the RBI is regularly monitoring the market behavior and its impact on financial sector stability. So they are regularly monitoring the issue. And another important part is Mr. Shaktikanta Das has said that RBI has projected the GDP will be in negative territory this year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And you should just be aware, because the stock market అనేది ఏంటి, ఇప్పుడు ఇండస్ట్రియల్ సెక్టర్లో ఆర్ ఐటీ సెక్టర్లో ఆర్ సర్వీసెస్ వేరేలో ఆ ఇండస్ట్రీకి ఉండే ఐపీఓస్ మూలంగా స్టాక్ మనం పర్చేస్ చేయొచ్చు. సో స్టాక్ ఎలా రిఫ్లెక్ట్ అవుద్ది, అసలు ఎంత ప్రొడక్షన్ అవుతుంది, వాళ్ళ టర్న్ ఓవర్ ఎంత, అన్ని బేసిస్ పైన స్టాక్ చూపిస్తారు. కానీ COVID-19 పాండమిక్ వల్ల అండ్ the excess liquidity valla, the stock market has been very disconnected with the economy, and this should be corrected. So I feel this is an ongoing development. I'm sure there'll be more articles related to it. So that's it, friends. With this we can finish our daily Hindu analysis, and here are some sample mains questions for you. What are the impacts of COVID-19 on various sections of the Indian society? And elaborate the government measures taken against the pandemic. So this is basically linking both the editorials which we discussed. ఇప్పుడు COVID-19 వల్ల వేరే వేరే సెక్షన్స్ పైన ఎలా ఇంపాక్ట్ పడిందంటే, మన ఎంప్లాయ్మెంట్ సెక్టర్లో ఎలా పడింది, ఆర్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఎలా ప్రాబ్లం అయింది, ఆర్ టెక్నాలజీ ఎలా యాక్సెస్ చేయగలుగుతున్నారు అప్పర్ కాస్ట్ చూస్తే, అలాగే పూరర్ వలనరబుల్ సెక్షన్స్ చూస్తే, అండ్ విమెన్ ఎలా ఎఫెక్ట్ అయ్యారు, మైనారిటీస్ ఎలా ఎఫెక్ట్ అయ్యారు. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నిజాముద్దీన్ మర్కాజ్ కేసు నుంచి ముస్లిమ్స్ పైన ఎలా నెగటివ్ ఒక పారనోయా, ఒక ఫాల్స్ పారనోయా ఎలా స్ప్రెడ్ అయింది. అలాగే ఇప్పుడు మనం ఆర్టికల్లో ప్రాపర్లీ చూసాం అప్పర్ కాస్ట్ అండ్ లోవర్ కాస్ట్లో ఎలా దేర్ హెస్ బిన్ ఎఫెక్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద కోవిడ్-19. ఇవన్నీ ఇట్ షుడ్ బి ఫోకస్డ్. అండ్ గవర్నమెంట్ మెజర్స్ హ్యావ్ బిన్ ఎక్స్టెన్సివ్లీ డన్ బై ద ఆర్టికల్ బై జయంత్ సిన్హా. We have seen Atmanirbhar package or the National Social Assistance Plan or మన్రేగా నుంచి జన్ధన్ యోజన. అవే కాకుండా డిఫెన్స్ సెక్టర్లో ఏం చేశారు, ఎలక్ట్రానిక్స్ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్ ఏం చేశారు, బేసికలీ లాస్ట్ ఫ్యూ మంత్స్లో ద అగ్రికల్చరల్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్, ద ఆర్డినెన్సెస్ ఏ పాస్ చేశారు, అవన్నీ మెన్షన్ చేయొచ్చు గవర్నమెంట్ మెజర్స్లో. ద నెక్స్ట్ క్వశ్చన్ ఇస్ examine the factors behind the industrial disasters along with the mitigative steps. So this has been directly done. We have given an introduction and the role of industry and the role of government. And you should also focus in the introduction that the Srisailam power plant lo fire ఏదైతే అయిందో, because ఏదైనా ఆన్సర్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు ఆ ఫస్ట్ ఓపెనింగ్ పారాగ్రాఫ్లోనే ఇఫ్ యూ కనెక్టెడ్ విత్ ద కరెంట్ అఫేర్ అండ్ దెన్ ప్రొసీడ్ ఫర్ అ స్టాటిక్ part of it, then the examiner would be impressed. Like, okay, he understands why this question is being asked. So that way you can improve your answer writing. So that's it. That is our session today. We shall meet again on Monday. And on behalf of E-Taragathi, we wish all the aspirants a very happy Ganesh Chaturthi. So festivities anni ayipaka evening nunchana you should get back to your studying plan. And like, share and subscribe our channel. Please continue your growing support to the channel. Thank you so much and all the very best.